Holy smokes, this is breaking news. A lot of top leaders are now calling on President Zelensky to resign of Ukraine, including some of our top leaders. We have our even own Mike Johnson, who says things have got to change and now is asking from the United States. Check this out, guys. Johnson says Zelensky may need to resign because they're trying to work with the European unions to try to put pressure on the United States to try to give them more money and align with them in their fight against Russia. Trump said not happening. Johnson said we're working on a big, beautiful bill that we're about to unleash here in the United States, and this is an American first bill with no foreign aid to many countries, including, you guessed it, Ukraine. All the while, you have a lot of prime ministers like Keir Starmer who just said that the UK is ready to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to defend a peace deal in Ukraine. This is what Zelensky, now that we know, guys, was asking Donald Trump to do. They wanted to put U.S. troops in Ukraine to fight against Russia, and Donald Trump said no. So lots of stuff is coming out of the woodworks, guys. We're about to unleash prosperity and an economic movement like never before in the United States, and Trump is trying to make sure that that happens. We also have, guys, this is crazy. A state audit revealed Governor J.B. Pritzker massively underestimated the cost of the illegal immigrants. Guys, this is insane. It cost them $1.6 billion on taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants, 282% over budget. More audits like this are popping up across the United States because whether it's Chicago, New York, California, they're spending federal taxpayer dollars on illegals, and Trump said, we're done with this. There's no federal funding going to states that have sanctuary status for illegals. He wants to make sure that funds that are given by the taxpayer are staying and being put towards the taxpayer. And we have an update, guys, because this is getting crazy too. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is now requiring all civilian Department of Defense employees to respond to Elon Musk's email or be fired. This is huge because, again, they want to reduce the defense budget, but there's a lot of employees that are protesting against Trump and his directives, saying, you know what, if you don't respond, we're going to fire you. So whatever's happening, guys, we're getting a lot of changes. We got a lot of updates on the big, beautiful bill coming from Congress on what's going to be for the taxpayer, the Doge dividend bill, guys. So much breaking news today, and I love it. I want to say thank you to all of our subscribers, all of our viewers. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Let us take care of you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. Remember, you're our sponsors. We don't have sponsors, so you are. Whenever you do that, and it's free, guys, thank you so much for your support. And thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel and gives a super chat donation. We already got Ruby Hoove, who's already gifted a TrueLife News membership. Chesser X, welcome to the family. Miss B, welcome to the family, guys. Y'all show them some love in the chat. We are about to move into the next big step of America, and that's this big, beautiful bill. But right now, there's just so much infighting with where people are trying to protest against Trump, and they're not having it anymore, guys. Check this out.
You want to see how inefficient your government is, however bad you think it is. I promise you it's worse, okay? Kim Strassel has this piece up, 12 things she writes on Wednesday and Thursday. It's always a good, I like Kim's work. Again, it's not a big MAGA person, but that's okay. Now, we don't have, you got to get a wide variety of ideas in there. She has this piece up called We Pay Dead People. Yes. And in the piece, there is apparently, folks, I don't know if you knew this, there's a death file. And a master death file in the government. In other words, who's dead? And she writes, while Social Security does mistakenly pay out beneficiaries, the IG reports that many of the $72 billion in improper payments was overpayments to living people. Okay, fair enough. Good to know. I like facts. So she goes on. I was totally unaware of this. Part two of that one. That there's a master death file, apparently. And look at this. Read this. You want to pull your hair out with me? It's hard. It's so short. You wouldn't want to do it anyway. What is that called? Is that trichotillomania for you psychology majors in there? I forget. I'm thinking back to my psych days. The far bigger problem is that the Treasury Department, until recently, did not have access to Social Security's master, basically, death list. So was unable to add the names to a do not pay system, which other agencies use.
You can't make this stuff up.
She writes checks to pay heating costs, housing subsidies, disability insurance, pensions, farming subsidies, Medicaid, Medicare, disaster aid. She goes on and on. The Treasury Department, up until recently, had no access to this death list at all. Folks, how many of you out there run a small, medium, or large business? Can you imagine having an employee who quits and is dead, and they're still getting an employment check and nobody picks it up?
To be clear, I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and 2 neurons? So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is, anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email?
That's all you had to do, man. All you had to do. You realize your 5 things you probably could have responded back. Barney, Power Rangers, the Flintstones. It doesn't matter. No one was reading it. I sincerely doubt someone at OPM was going to go through every email and wrote, hey, Guy wrote back that he fixed Wirecast yesterday, did training at the news studio, moved some of the objects and cameras over, debugged the system. No one was reading that. They just wanted you to reply to make sure you weren't dead. Buyers, early career federal workers. It could alter the future of government. Can you just leave that up? Can we savor this one for a second? He did. Guy fought for this hard. Guy fought for this almost as he fought for the Kathleen Kennedy leaving Star Wars thing. He was like, if he even wrote on my rundown sheet, which is like a major no-no, he's like, must cover. Trump administration fires early career workers. It could alter the future of the headline. It's an actual headline. Careful there. I almost turned it into an accident. By the way, not everyone, I want you to, it's critical we learn, and everybody learn, me included, and we'll get really good at this. When you start learning how to read headlines like this, which happened for me over the course of 10 years, you just kind of laugh, like this is what a ridiculous headline. Of course, that's like young people are the future. But learn the distinction also between being told a story and the story. A story you're typically being told by a lot of people in the media is rarely the actual story. So a story you're being told now is that the American public is in revolt. Town halls are going crazy. They want this bloated government. This is a great thing. We shouldn't be looking into any of this. Here is a relatively left-leaning show, but very, very popular. It's called The Breakfast Club. One of the hosts is Charlemagne. You probably heard about him. I want you to listen to this caller that calls into the show, claims to be a federal employee. And this did not go as people expected if you're from the left.
I love it.
This is the story, not a story. Check this out.
Hello?
Hey, good morning. What's your name?
Yes. Good morning. I want to say anonymous, but I do work for the federal government.
All right.
Can you at least tell us where?
Yes, in Florida, Miami, Florida.
No, I mean, like, what branch? Like, what do you do in the government?
Oh, Department of Human Services.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now, what's up? How are you feeling? Did you get one of those emails? Talk to us.
Yes, I got the email, and I honestly feel like this is a great opportunity to outline what you as an employee bring to the bring to the federal government. And if it's really good what you outline, they could give you an opportunity to get a promotion or something. Like, God forbid, they ask you what you've done. Any other job, they'll ask you at the end of the week, at the end of the month, because I used to do bookkeeping. Okay, so what do we do, at the end of the month? What are the clients that we have to, gear towards to? So at the end of the day, God forbid anybody make any, and it's this democratic thing. It's like, I don't want to get the parties into it, but they don't want to go to work. They want to work from home. People are not working from home. This is what you signed up for. If you don't like it, resign.
Can't say it much straighter than that. If you don't like it, resign.
Guys, it is 100%. You can go work for somebody else. Thank you so much for your support. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, thank you so much, guys.
Folks, again, a story and the story are not the same thing. I'm seeing it now. Again, with my name being in the news cycle, the questions we're getting are so preposterous, you realize they're not really trying to tell the story.
Nope.
I had to send over my bio and everything today regards to the new position. And as I was typing it out, I'm like, you don't have to like it, but just tell the truth about it. And they just refuse to do it because they have this kind of preconceived notion of any conservative that agrees to serve in government that the motives have to be malicious. And once you have that preconceived notion in your head, it is hard to write a story with even a modicum of fairness to it, which is part of the game, but shouldn't be.
Guys, let me tell you this. If they aren't lying to us every single day, lying to us about where the money's going, lying to us about what's actually happening behind the scenes, it's all coming out right now. Look at this. Illinois, a state audit revealed Governor J.B. Pritzker massively underestimated costs, blowing through $1.6 billion on taxpayer-funded healthcare for illegal immigrants. This is where Trump says, this is not happening anymore. Why are we going to give billions and billions of dollars to non-citizens when we got homeless veterans? We've got a lot of senior citizens that are barely making it on $900 a month. This is what they're talking about. This fraud, this waste, this abuse that's being done by these governors on non-citizens. Not only that, think about it like this. I saw this post because this whole Ukraine thing, guys, is changing the entire world spectrum right now. Look what Elon Musk posted. The EU leaders and Zelensky have fancy dinners while men die in trenches. How many parents will never see their son again? How many children will never see their father again? And he posted this image, look at this, of chess. And you see the king and the queens over here having dinner, and then everybody over here just laid out. Why? Because look at this. This came out, guys. Everything's coming out. Alex Jones posted this, said Zelensky makes his most insane demand ever. This is, and I quote, the U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters to fight, and they will be dying. This is from this video, guys. We're all getting this news. Why do you think Trump was so hard with Zelensky? Why do you think J.D. Vance, they didn't give him the time of day? Because they wanted to put American troops on the ground to fight their forever war instead of making a dang deal. And that's where we're not having it anymore. We don't want no more forever wars. And Ukraine, I'm not Ukraine, but the UK is going to send some people and they're going to fight on the ground. But Trump said, we're not sending our sons and daughters. Charlotte Smith, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Charlotte some love in the chat. But listen to this, guys, because again, too, we got a lot of problems, a lot of things we're dealing with here at home.
Listen, I'm not for higher taxes. What I'm for is fiscal sanity. Right. We're in a financial crisis. If President Trump's geoeconomics on tariff, because he doesn't think of tariffs as a 25% tariff on a Mexican avocado or some under the hood part from Canada. He looks at it as we have a premium market that's basically supported and made robust by working class people. If you want to get through the golden door, you got to pay a premium, like you get a skybox at a sporting event or a front row ticket to a concert. You either move your manufacturing here and create jobs, or you're going to pay a price for it. He believes, I think, like Navarro, eventually a third of our total revenue can come from external sources, not internal. But if we can't, cut spending, get more duties, fees, and tariffs from outside sources, that gap at $2 trillion is not sustainable. And it's just going to keep driving inflation. It's got to be cut. If you want to get under $1 trillion, and Doge doesn't come up with those types of cuts, which I think right now is still to be seen. There is waste, fraud, and abuse, but if we can't get to those cuts, eventually you have to get additional revenues. Those revenues, to me, should come from financial transactions, carried interest, others, and obviously the wealthy that can have made us so well from the 2008 collapse. I mean, we've created more wealth for them. The Wall Street Journal today just has a report out that the entire economy, 70% of it is, or a third of the purchasing power, but 70% of the overall is driven by the top 3%. People making more than $350,000 a year, I think. That's not, we can't continue into that system.
That makes sense.
We have a capitalist system.
We got to keep it.
Well, we have a capitalist system with no capitalist.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
70% of the people in this country don't own financial or real assets, right? They have to have a piece of the action. If you have everybody the piece of the action, and this is not socialism, these people never ask for anything.
Fairness.
It's also practical. President Trump keeps saying it's a revolution of common sense. Common sense means let's get everybody to be a capitalist. Let's get everybody to be an owner of something. Financial assets, real assets.
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game.
Care
Once
about
they
the
have
community.
Care about the community. Once you incentivize people with actual ownership, you create a capitalist system. Right now, we have a oligarchic system.
Yes.
Right? It's very huge government, a handful of players in each industry, whether it's media, whether it's defense contracting, whether it's big pharma, health, the oligarchs in Silicon Valley that have elite merger or elite capture, right, or regulatory capture. This has to be broken apart, and they're just not going to sit there and say, oh, this is brilliant. Why didn't we think of that? We'll just toss you the keys. Every day is going to be a fight.
It will be.
And we're asking people in your audience, as you become awakened to what reality is, understand they're always going to try to throw, it's Nazi salutes, or these guys are nativists, or they're racist. We're anything but. We're saying that the greatest resource this country's ever had, is its people, particularly working class and middle class people. It is what has created more value, more wealth, freed more people than any nation in the history of the earth. And what we have to do is make sure that they're incentivized and rewarded for that. And if we do that, this thing is going to thrive like nobody's business.
Let's go.
Look at Elon. And this is why, because the industrialists in Silicon Valley are taking the typical easy way industrialists have. In the issue about labor and about manufacturing, instead of still trying to do the great American innovation and kind of the Tom Peters management in search of excellence, management by wandering around, like having the R&D facility next to the manufacturing facility so the engineers could walk to the floor and see the artisans, these guys, and get production, better production experience, get down the learning curve, make things better. American innovation was always our greatest power. What we did is we outsourced. We just shipped the factories over to China because you know why? For efficiency, we want cheaper labor. It's easier to do that. We keep the R&D here, and guess what? It was never the same again. But we got lower labor costs. You either send it to China or you outsource it to India. That was the lazy way to do it, and it had a massive impact on manufacturing. The same thing's happening in AI, and this is why people have to wake up. AI's got two paths it can go down. An efficiency path, that I'm just going to use AI and blow out everybody under 35 years old that's in their first administrative, managerial, or tech job, or I can use it as an engine of innovation, right, to work. And right now, we're taking just like the guys made the basic mistake of doing the what I call the mass type of AI, which is the model that we're using, right, which is machine learning in a mass way that requires massive data centers, massive replication, massive energy.
That's like ChatGPT and things like this.
Versus what DeepSeek is, right? Which is now.
Do you think DeepSeek is legit? Do you think they were able to accomplish this, or do you think
I'm not.
We don't know.
I'm not smart enough to know, but
I don't know either.
Here's what I would say. Even if it's a psyop, we have to, I think, assume for the purpose of the discussion going forward, it may be a Sputnik or quasi-Sputnik moment in what we're going to do about it, because now we're in a horrible situation. Because now the oligarchs come to us and say, well, Bannon, how can you sit there and say we should be broken up? How can you want Lena Khan and you're neo-Brandeisian? How can you want to break it up? Now more than ever, we need to have national champions. Now more than ever, you must make another Faustian bargain.
Is there any point to that where they say we need supremacy in that?
They're saying it now.
Technology sector. Well,
they're saying
for sure.
This is the $500 billion bailout. They turn to us and say we need a Mercury program. We need a Marshall program. You need to turn the national labs over to us.
The taxpayers have to fund it.
The taxpayers they ain't putting it up, and the venture capitalists, they're looking for a bailout. anytime you hear Mercury program, anytime you hear Marshall program, understand that's coming out of your paycheck.
And is
okay?
this similar in your mind to when people say we need to go into Iraq and into Afghanistan and we need all this money? And
It's the same thing as the bailout of the banks. It's
Same
always
thing
looking
as
for the little,
bailout of the banks.
yes, and obviously
Yeah.
going there. The little guy pays for it. It's your sons and daughters that are in Iraq or Afghanistan
That are doing it.
and you're paying for
Yeah.
it, and not just your tax.
Guys, and that's that. I would say this, guys, that's the most messed up thing. I want to say, if you don't mind, guys, clicking the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. There's a reason why the United States has basically, for some reason, with all the oligarchs, with all the corrupt politicians, we've become the sugar daddy to basically every single country in the world. This is why Elon Musk, breaking from the leading report, breaking news, said that, has called for the U.S. to leave NATO and the United Nations. Everybody's like, whoa, we can't do that. Why? No, they're trying to destroy us. They're trying to destroy the United States. Well, let's just take a look at where all the spending comes from. The blue in this chart that you see is all the spending that the United States does to protect everybody else in NATO, and this is what everybody else spends. We almost 75% of all the cost of NATO and protect them, and we're not even over there. This is where, again, too, they're being exposed. This is where, again, too, the oligarchs, the old politicians, all the deep state are being exposed, and Trump and Elon are saying, you know what? Let's stop being used. Let's stop being the sugar daddy to the entire world, and let's make sure to put Americans first. Because, guys, some news came out over the deep state within America, what actually happened. And when you see this, you got to be like, you got to be kidding me. But this is what happened in America, guys, and we're uncovering it. I hope you're sitting down for this. Check this out.
Now that Joe Biden's comfortably retired, we wonder, does he still hold a grudge against the friends who cooed him? Thanks to Donald Trump, we now know.
I asked him, I said, so who do you blame? Because he was very angry. You know, he's a very angry guy, actually. And he said, I blame Barack. And I never think of him as Barack. You know, you always hear Obama. You say, you have to think about that for a second. And he said, and I also blame Nancy Pelosi. I said, what about the vice president? He said, no, I don't blame her, which was interesting.
Yeah.
He didn't blame her. He blamed, he told me he blamed those two people.
No wonder Biden's team was terrified of letting Joe speak without a teleprompter. He's a loose cannon, misfires all the time.
The president's team was scared to death of impromptu, unscripted, unrehearsed, unpracticed, unchoreographed, anything. They couldn't compete for the attention economy. They just couldn't do it. They didn't have any idea. And they didn't have the vessel, either in Biden, by the way, who would have done anything. He loves doing stuff. It was the orbit that did not trust their own candidate.
Biden's team thought he'd stick to his word and be a bridge between generations, but they were shocked to find out there were plans for a second term the second he took office.
When I got to the White House on day one, it became pretty clear to me. You know, I think I went in, first of all, I was just happy to be there, excited. I used to drive my boss home every night, my chief of staff, because we lived in the same building. And I remember him saying something about, oh, well, that's after the reelect. That's a second term thing. I said, wait, what? Because I think
you believe the bridge.
The hardest part of a coup isn't stabbing your president in the back. It's finding a good leader to replace the guy you just kicked out. And Democrats are still looking without any luck.
My heart breaks for Democratic voters. I used to be a Democratic voter. I'm an independent now because I'm sick of how incompetent the Democratic Party really is. And honestly, calling them incompetent really is generous. Because in reality, they're not incompetent necessarily, they're just corrupt.
The party isn't just corrupt, they're
Dang.
also clueless. And it's clear they haven't learned a thing since the election.
I really think the left does not understand what's happening all over the country. MAGA is on fire with a sense of retribution and a sense of the opportunity to make big change, to pressure corporations, to pressure universities, to pressure the media, to pressure Hollywood, to say, new sheriff in town, old ways don't count. We are going to change it.
And the man who was almost vice president is still shouting about fascism.
And we're seeing it in these town halls. That charismatic leader's not going to come there. You know, I see the pundits on TV. What's wrong with the Democratic Party? What's wrong is our country's being stole by fascists and Nazis, and we're trying to do all we can.
Wow.
Fascists and Nazis, Tampon? Might want to walk that one back. Well, the press gave him a shot yesterday.
We have folks in Lincoln Heights, Ohio, wearing and calling themselves Nazis, walking in the streets, asking to take over that city council and the way they govern there. So they're asking me to apologize because of that?
Well, you were talking about politicians in Washington, Republicans in Washington.
No, I'm talking about the people who are openly Nazis.
Sure, okay. Fox and Friends weekend co-host Charlie Hurt is here. So do you think Trump was telling the truth? Did Biden really just pour his heart out?
Oh, I think, and by the way, that was a great interview that Ben Domenech did. And at about 11 o'clock today was the biggest story of the day.
Yeah, and then Zelensky.
And then 2 hours later, Zelensky walks into the Oval Office, completely blows it up. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And I thought that, and I think that, that Joe Biden probably was being very honest with Donald Trump about who screwed him and how he felt about that. And I think it's so, I mean, the Democrat Party is cooked right now. They're thoroughly cooked. They have, and that hatred that Biden now has for the team Obama. And I think it's playing out behind the scenes right now among the people, the loyalists, the various loyalists. It's palpable. I don't know how they recover from this. They have no leader. Joe Biden, his 50-year career is managing now to even destroy Obama's legacy. And then when you look at everything that we're arguing about today with Zelensky, and you look at Ukraine, and you look at Middle East, Joe Biden was the greatest foreign policy thinker in Washington for 50 years. And this is what he left for Donald Trump to clean up. And Donald Trump will spend the next 4 years cleaning it up. And hopefully he will clean up a lot of it, but man, what a catastrophe.
Can you believe that Joe Biden lied to the entire party and said that he was only going to be a one-termer, and the minute he was inaugurated, he was planning for the second term?
I think that it is the perfect encapsulation of Joe Biden.
Success.
50 years of lying to people. His entire political career was a lie. And now, like I said, Donald Trump is having to clean it up.
All right. It's a lot of cleaning up to do.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Hurt.
Guys, let me tell you this. The cleanup is, and the exposure to all the corruption, we're barely scratching the surface, guys. I want you to watch this video that Elon Musk reposted, because again, too, as much as you want to say that, Russia, I 100% think is bad, but I also think that there's something else happening with Ukraine, because this is our director of national intelligence who literally just tells us one of the most corrupt things that has ever happened. And if you don't mind, guys, clicking the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. Listen to this, guys.
Here is something that the political establishment and propaganda media don't want you to know. Ukraine's President Zelensky has just banned yet another political opposition party, one that questioned his legitimacy as president, and used Ukraine's Department of Justice to mandate the seizure of this party's members' assets. Now, this is just the latest of Zelensky's actions to do this sort of thing. He began banning major political opposition parties in 2022, when he also started banning TV channels that were associated with his political opponents. And he took over total control of Ukraine's largest television networks, now controlled by their government. Now, Zelensky's presidential term ended on May 20th. He canceled elections in the name of martial law, suspending Ukraine's constitution so that he could stay in power. Now, defenders of Zelensky will say, hey, Ukraine is in the middle of a war. They can't have elections. Just stop for a moment and think, if we accept that excuse or criteria for suspending the Constitution and canceling elections, then we should presume that leaders in our own country and our own establishment media will also use this same excuse and rationale when they suspend our Constitution and our elections.
Wow.
Since we too are at war with Russia and China. If you think this sounds crazy, look at what's already going on. They've already started conditioning us to accept a dictatorship by rationalizing their own use of our Department of Justice to target President Trump and other political enemies in their efforts to stay in power.
Do y'all hear that, guys? I'm telling you, like, I had no idea. I went and fact-checked her and did all this stuff. Yeah. Zelensky literally made an entire bill, a entire, like, law about not having diplomatic relations with Russia. So how the heck are you supposed to, you know, kind of fix your issue? And then declared martial law so that there's no elections. And then getting rid of other parties. Guys, the cat is out of the bag now. We've saw what Zelensky thinks and what he wants, and it is truly to just milk and get as much money from us as possible, like never before. Check this out.
A former comedian went to the White House yesterday, and the result, well, it was kind of laughable. Ukrainian President Zelensky sat down with President Trump in the Oval Office yesterday, but it felt more like a UFC octagon. The two clashed over a possible ceasefire in the Ukraine-Russia war, with Zelensky trying to lecture Trump before the president kicked him out of the White House. Zelensky still hasn't apologized for what Trump calls disrespect, but according to someone inside the room, what really set off the fireworks was Zelensky's body language. Apparently, 30 minutes of head shaking and eye rolling was just too much. Lisa, I don't know, if you've gone back and looked at the whole 40 minutes, I had to do it because people on X started pointing out that the majority of people in this country that are reacting to this strongly only saw that last 10 minutes maybe of a 40-minute press conference where Zelensky was eye rolling, body language the whole time.
Yeah, and I think the frustration is just because, like, okay, so for instance, I'll tell a story. There used to be a Starbucks near Fox News, and there was a homeless guy that used to open the door for people. And so I would buy him food and, you know, but then he started getting a little greedy and he started having specific demands about what he wanted. No, it has to be this sandwich. I need this orange juice. And so at some point you're like, I was trying to be generous, but when you're asking for so much, like I have less of a desire to want to help you. And I feel like that's Zelensky right now, right? We've given him hundreds of billions of dollars and he doesn't seem to be appreciative of that money. Comes into our house, the people's house, and then insults our president. And then also, I think why President Trump is so good on foreign policy is that he sees the world from a very realistic lens. And, you know, he looks at Putin. Obviously, Putin's a bad guy, but he's also looking at Zelensky. And if you heard about any other president, any other country that did some of these things, like suspending elections by declaring martial law or banning opposition parties or merging all national TV channels into one state-run broadcast or barring men from leaving the country.
Did you hear that? Merging all news channels into a state-run news channel. Does that not sound like communism? You only hear what we want you to hear?
Barring certain religious organizations. I mean, would you say that person's a defender of democracy? No, of course you wouldn't. So I think President Trump is looking at these two men. He realizes that Ukraine cannot fight this war without us. They're not going to win against Russia. And so he wants to reach a conclusion. He wants this to be to end. And Zelensky thus far doesn't seem to want any sort of peace. And so I think what we're seeing is President Trump just trying to apply some pressure to him to get this guy to fold and, you know, for the fighting to stop and to bring some peace to it.
Jason, you spent 10 years in Congress. I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. Those times overlapped during the Iraq and Afghanistan war. And during that time, and even to this day, and to his own credit, in a very honest way, Senator Lindsey Graham would say, we fought that war and spent that money, and that kept us safe here. We fought it there, so we didn't have to fight it here. That is kind of the narrative, is fight Russia, let Ukraine fight Russia, because if not, they're coming after us next. I think the American people just have lost their appetite and faith in that argument. It's like proving a negative in a way.
Right.
And, you know, I would imagine as a member of Congress, you went through that journey yourself on from where you started to where you ended.
Yeah, there came a point where we could not, you know, figure out what victory looked like. When I would go to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I would ask them, these generals, the highest generals we had, what does victory look like and how do we get there? They couldn't answer that basic question. And so here's President Trump, and he made a very solid point. Of course, you won't see it on any of the other networks because they think that, it's all for Putin. And President Trump said, look, my allegiance is to the United States of America, and I want peace. And right now, I'm trying to help you, but you're not willing to help yourself. And he made a very good point that under President Obama, they gave him sheets, like literally blankets and sheets. And the hard weapons, the javelins, were given to him by President Trump. Otherwise, they would have already been all overrun. So they need to come to a conclusion, but to have the safety and security net of the United States enforcing that is important.
Yeah, I would imagine so. It didn't take long for the left to attack Trump over his throwdown with Zelensky, and now they're pulling a page out of the old playbook, calling Trump a Russian asset. Wow. Eric Swalwell, you remember him, Fang Fang, saying Zelensky, quote, went into the Oval Office and stood up to Russia's best negotiators.
Wow.
And that was just the tip of what we call the iceberg.
Messed up.
What we just witnessed between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and President Zelensky inside the White House was an ambush. It was a planned ambush designed to embarrass President Zelensky in order to benefit Vladimir Putin.
The propaganda is what's coming out of J.D. Vance's mouth, and it's Russian propaganda.
What a complete and utter mess. And this is a gift to Putin. We don't gain anything by acting like bullies. And this is what bullies do. And just because you act this way, by the way, it doesn't mean that you're tough.
The president of the United States is a coward who is Vladimir Putin's puppet. The vice president of the United States is a pogue and a coward who is Donald Trump's puppet.
Wow.
And so what we just witnessed was a meeting in the Oval Office between two cowardly puppets and a hero. It's just embarrassing.
A hero.
That the only hero in the Oval Office, the only decent human being for that matter, is the Ukrainian.
You gotta be freaking kidding
Yeah, I'll have
me.
more on a response to Seth Moulton in a minute, but first, President Trump let the world know who he was aligned with.
I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America.
Yeah, real quick, off the top here, I want to address what Seth Moulton said there about the Vice President of the United States being a pogue and a coward. Seth Moulton needs to understand, for those of you that don't know, he was an officer. He retired or got out as a captain for the United States Marine Corps. He has 4 combat tours, so he understands combat. But pogue means person other than grunt. I was a pogue. I fought 2 wars as a pogue. I lost a lot of buddies and half my body as a pogue. So maybe Seth Moulton needs to change his language there, because if you're equating being a person other than grunt with being a coward, you might have a lot of people knocking on your doors tomorrow. That was just that was shameful to attack J.D. Vance, the nuance of his record, who he, by law, is a combat veteran. Sarah, go
That was, yeah, you're absolutely right, Joey. It was absolutely disgusting, and this coming from a wife of a combat veteran as well, and somebody who lost their eyesight in Afghanistan, and as a war correspondent on the front lines covering the war. And I want to say one thing, too. As far as President Trump is concerned, and I love hearing this from the left, it's so ridiculous, saying that he's a puppet of Putin. No, they are the puppets of Putin. This was Russia hoax. Remember, folks, this was Hillary Clinton and James Comey and John Brennan and the intelligence apparatus and our military that was working in contrary to President Trump during his first term. They were the ones that were being the lapdogs for the Russians, because when that fake dossier showed up and tried to destroy his first term and tried to destroy this man who was duly elected by the American people before the whole world, they used actually a Russian asset for that dossier, and Christopher Steele, who was a British MI6 spy. So the only people that are puppets for the Russians are the left, and everything they try to accuse the right of is exactly what they are doing. But I would just...
Guys, let me tell you this. I want to say thank you so much, Virginia Lim, for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Virginia some love in the chat. Said you have such a great work ethic, Joel. Thank you. Thank you so much, Virginia. This is the true. This is like the Democratic Party. This is what they truly represent. If you see on the screen, before Ukraine crisis on the left, after Ukraine crisis on the right. And if you don't mind, guys, clicking the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. Welcome to Ukraine, the most corrupt nation in Europe, by The Guardian. after the Ukraine crisis, the fight for Ukraine is a fight for liberal ideals. Reuters, Ukraine's neo-Nazi problem. After, for foreign fighters, Ukraine offers purpose, camaraderie, and a cause. It's all who's lining the pockets, guys. It's all who's ready to put down the most amount of money to make things happen. This is it. And what I love, guys, is that you cannot deny this. This is facts. It's on the internet. It ain't going nowhere. Dana Woa, welcome to the family. Let's go. Y'all show Danu some love. Is that how you pronounce it? Danu Woa? Y'all show them some love in the chat. So when it comes to these left-leaning media outlets, I don't want to hear it. You, for years, put down Ukraine, how corrupt it was. Biden's son worked there. There's a lot of messed up things that happened there. But what we're getting now is Trump is having a backbone like nobody's business. Elon Musk says we need to pull out of NATO, and there's a reason why. Listen to this.
Interview tonight. That to me was the $1 billion or $200 billion or $300 billion question. What do you think of the answer?
I tried 3 times to make sure he was understanding exactly what I was saying. Mark Thiessen said it was like watching a man drowning who was not taking the life preserver. He did not apologize. He regretted that it happened. He said it was bad, and that it was bad for the Ukrainian people that happened in front of the media. But he did not read the room. He didn't read the room here in the interview, and he didn't read the room in the Oval Office. Maybe he thought it was similar to negotiating with President Biden and talking like he was talking to President Biden. Obviously, President Trump is a much different president, and Vice President Vance is a much different vice president. And the fact that it happened in front of cameras, I think, really was a bad moment for everybody.
I don't think it was necessarily
not a bad moment for the president, but a bad moment for Zelensky.
For Zelensky, for Europe, I think it was terrible. I mean, however, President Trump was the only guy that would be able to get Putin to the negotiating table. Now, I know before this meeting that 10 U.S. senators met with Zelensky, and they told him, this is going to be a 3-step process. You're going to sign the mineral deal today. You're going to be appreciative of the mineral deal. That'll ensure U.S. presence in your country. That will help you. The president will advocate for European troops that will be there for part security reasons. That was discussed this morning as well. The second phase of this would hopefully be a ceasefire, and maybe that could have possibly maybe happened today. And then after that, a negotiated settlement, which would have been the hardest part. So it's not like he went in there today not knowing what the agenda was.
And I asked him specifically that because I had the same intel that not only did the senators say that, including Senator Graham, but also the White House, and in their interactions with the Ukrainians, have been saying it for days and weeks, saying that this is a step in the process. You do the minerals deal first, and then we talk about the negotiation going forward, what the security guarantee looks like. And that's really what he wanted to talk about again and again, which was the security guarantee, which, listen, he said it probably 5, 6, 7 times in my interview.
Now I'm kind of asking you to give a little analysis based on everything that you know and your exclusive interview tonight. What happens if the U.S. stops providing money to Ukraine? I don't think Europe is going to step up and put in, make up the difference because they've been unwilling to do so up to this point. So at that point, that there will be more death, more destruction, and there will be more dominance by Russia. That would be the worst case scenario for everybody involved, in my humble opinion. I'd like to see the death stop. I'd like to see the destruction stop. The better part of the mineral deal is, okay, we're going to help them extract these rare earth minerals. That will help give them the money, provide them the money to begin to rebuild their country. What an opportunity that was missed.
Yeah. Listen, I talked to French President Macron earlier in the week. He said he's trying to get Europe to do more, including France. They're at just over 2% as far as defense spending in NATO. I talked to the UK Prime Minister. They want to do more, said they'll do peacekeepers. They're at about 2.5%. These are numbers where they they're low as far as what they're contributing individually, not only to NATO but into Ukraine. Comparatively, now as Europe, they've put in about $140 billion. That said, it's not enough if the U.S. steps aside. If the weapons stop, if the U.S. stops its support, you're right. Europe probably can't do it alone, despite their encouraging words that they tweeted out today. And that's why today was so detrimental to the entire picture. All of the leaders, Macron, Sturmer, Zelensky even, acknowledged that this would not happen without President Trump. He is the only person with this catalyst to change the paradigm that maybe there could be peace. And that's why it was so screwed up what happened in the Oval Office.
And you gave him every opportunity, I thought, to fix it. You're right. I think you kept throwing him a lifeline. You might want to go here and to make sure that he understood. And it was a fascinating interview on what was an incredible day. Brett Baer, special.
Guys, let me tell you this. Again, what I love is that Donald Trump is forcing everybody else to stop sitting on the sidelines and making the U.S. pay for everything. We're $36 trillion in debt. What more do they want us to do? Deborah Myers, welcome to the family, as well as Donna D. Let's go. Y'all show Deborah and Donna some love in the chat, everybody. So the United Kingdom agrees to send Ukraine $2.8 billion backed by frozen Russian assets. Oh, really? So it's not really even your money. It's backed by frozen Russian assets. So that's hilarious, guys. The amount of non-common sense that we have to deal with at a global level. They want the United States to do everything, but then they just want everything to be kind of their way. And it doesn't make sense to me because I'm thinking, you know what? We got a lot of stuff we're dealing with over here. I'm about to show you the latest update on the bill that we're dealing with the United States, the budget reconciliation, the tax cuts, everything. But this crossed my feed, guide, and crossed my feed. And again, I just want to go back. We're going back to common sense. So this video got posted today. A high school track star demolished the female competition by 8 feet at a triple jump at the track meet in California. A transgender high school track star demolished the female competition by 8 feet. Well, nah, duh. This person went, wow, what an accomplishment. I'm sure it had nothing to do with being a biological male. So when you beat out the best person by 8 feet, and this is who we're dealing with, this is not common sense. You are literally taking away from our daughters, from women, whenever you allow this non-common sense to happen. Donna D, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. If Z didn't want to apologize, he should have had at least said, I apologize if I did anything to offend him. It was not my intention. I said the exact same thing. Y'all show Donna some love in the chat. But right there, guys, it's so hard, and it blows my mind how hard it is for people to get back to common sense. Listen to this.
I want to turn to what's going on the Hill. What is your view of Vladimir Putin?
I think Vladimir Putin is an old school communist, a former KGB agent. He's not to be trusted, and he is dangerous. The way I view this is that China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are engaged in a new axis powers, and they are not on America's side. Let's be crystal clear about that. You have to walk circumspectly in these perilous times on the world stage. But America is back. America is strong again, and that is good for us and for freedom-loving people around the world.
Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about your plans for what you and the president call one big, beautiful bill. You had a big win this week in the House. You narrowly passed a key vote for that sweeping budget plan to do a lot of things, including extend Trump tax cuts, slash federal spending, at least give the parameters to do that. When you met with the president and the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, this week, did you get a sense from the Senate leader that he is going to continue with the plan that you propose? Because there's, as you know, some pushback in the Senate.
Well, there was a little initial pushback just on the strategy, but I'll say this very clearly. There is no daylight between the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans. We all have exactly the same idea and mission, and that is to deliver the America First agenda. The One Big Beautiful Bill is the vehicle to do that. And as Leader Thune has said, and Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Ted Cruz, and others who were initially in favor of a different strategy, of a two-bill strategy, they acknowledge the importance of the House leading on this, I think. And I believe we're ultimately going to combine forces and get the One Big Beautiful Bill done. I think the effort is to get it done. The idea is to get it done by the end of April and get it to the president's desk for signature, because that will provide much needed relief to the American people, economic relief, stability for business owners and people who have to make decisions going forward. And in that same bill, Dana will do all sorts of things. Make sure the border is secure. We will get American energy dominance going again. We will reduce red tape and cut down the bureaucracy in this country that the American people want us to do. And again, move one step forward even further in restoring peace through strength. So it's a critical piece of legislation.
You met this past week with Elon Musk for several hours, I believe, on the White House complex. Did you talk to him about when you pass the bill to keep the government running, when at least you hope you will do so, that you will include cuts in that mirror what he is trying to do? Big cuts, in some cases almost eliminating agencies.
Yes, we're going to need a few more weeks, maybe a month or more, to qualify and quantify and then codify what Elon Musk and the Doge effort is all about, and that is eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse in the government. He genuinely believes they may be able to find as much as $1 trillion, and that is going to make a big difference, obviously, in the budgeting for the federal government and the appropriations process going forward.
Did he show you what he's doing?
For the Yes, he has. He's shown me many of the examples of the outrageous abuses. And I'm telling you, Dana, when the American people understand what has been happening with our taxpayer dollars, that Congress has been unable to discern, even with our best oversight efforts, Elon has been able to crack the code. He's inside the belly of the beast of the bureaucracy, and the algorithms are crawling through the data constantly.
And you are confident that
is
things
incredible.
like 800 employees at NOAA, and the agency that is responsible for making sure that hurricanes at least are not as devastating because people know about it ahead of time, in states like yours of Louisiana, you're confident that those cuts will not end up hurting the American people? They don't go beyond the waste, fraud, and abuse that is understandable that you want to eliminate?
Yes, what you're going to see is a very careful attention paid to ensuring that the essential programs of the federal government, the things that make sense to American taxpayers and that follow common sense, will be sustained and supported and funded, but that the fraud, waste, and abuse will not. Elon himself has acknowledged there's no playbook for what's happening right now. This has never been done before, and that's kind of the point. It's why it's so exciting. He understands that some mistakes will be made along the way, but they'll be immediately corrected. And you've seen that, for example, with USAID. There were enormous abuses there that enraged the American people. But at the Secretary of State under Marco Rubio's leadership, they're going through literally with a line by line on the line items of USAID, and they're giving waivers for the programs that do need to be continued. For example, the things that confront the Chinese aggression around the world. Those are the kinds of efforts you're going to see in every agency of the federal government, and that is a great thing for American taxpayers and for the future of our country.
As we learn more about this, beyond what we're hearing from the federal employees who are getting fired, I would love for you to come back and talk more about it as we get more transparent.
Let me tell you this. Dana Bash, I have never seen her so calm. I have never seen her so, reserved. That's new, guys. I don't know about y'all. Guys, what I'm showing you guys is breaking news. Why? Because if it's breaking and it's happening, I'm going to show you exactly as it's happening. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, we're here for you to support you. Guys, this literally happened about 10 minutes ago. Ukrainian President Zelensky says he is ready to sign the mineral deals with U.S. President Trump. This comes 2 days after Zelensky was kicked out of the White House, where he was expected to sign the minerals agreement. So now we're on our fourth time, everybody. The fourth time that Zelensky says he's going to sign it, and we'll see what happens. Because I'll tell you this, Trump, he's at his wit's end with this. This is insane. This literally just popped on, guys. Look at the timestamp right here at the bottom. 3:15 p.m. March 2nd. Zelensky says he's ready. You know why? Because he went to Europe and he tried to get $50, $100 billion in protection. They said no. And guess what? He knows where the cards are at. He knows who holds the cards. And guys, this popped through, and I just have to show you this because a lot of people are upset. A lot of people are asking questions. What the heck is going on with the Epstein Files, Pam Bondi and stuff? So I want you to check this out because, again, too, there's more to the story.
Welcome back, America. We're here with Attorney General Pam Bondi. Attorney General Bondi, so are you getting many referrals, whether it is Tom Homan on immigration or it's the EPA, Zeldin about that unbelievable grant, events like that from Doge and Musk and these other departments? Are they starting to pour in somewhat?
Pour in is an understatement, Mark. Yes, we're going nonstop. First with Tom Homan and Kristi Noem. We're all working hand in hand. I was with both of them all week. You're going to see a lot of really great things coming out. We all work as a team. We work so well together. You know, I always tell the president this. I said, we were friends, so many of us, before we came in to work for the president. And it just makes our jobs so much easier because at a principal level, we're all talking to each other constantly. And I talk to Elon constantly because Elon needs us with everything he's doing. He needed us a couple weeks ago when his federal government employees, half of them got locked in USAID, half of them got locked out of USAID when the career deep state turned off their access cards. So that's one of the, I know you can't make this up. That's one of the many things we're doing with Doge. Last weekend, Secretary Zeldin and Secretary Basant of Treasury, the three of us, we were FaceTiming pretty much all weekend about all the problem, the $20 billion, as you know about at EPA. We've been talking nonstop about that. We're going after that. That's. I have a team of lawyers on that. We're all working hand in hand.
Yes.
Secretary Rubio, as you know, this past week we had a great ruling for him from Justice Roberts. They stayed the case that Marco had to disperse hundreds of millions of dollars of USAID funds. We've had some other fun rulings for Doge in that one involving Secretary Besant. You'll love this one if you haven't read about this one yet. They tried to tell the Secretary of Treasury that he had no power over how funds are dispersed from the Treasury Department. Only career employees could do that, not the Secretary of Treasury, because they called him a, quote, political. So that's what we're dealing with every day.
And you got a lot of these judges. I've seen the districts they're in. Most of them are in these dark blue cities, Boston, Washington, New York, Seattle, Washington. I counted, and I could be wrong, but I counted on the public record, 94 of these lawsuits trying to cripple Doge and the president and the activities that are taking place.
To 100.
I guess these are taking up a lot of time, no?
They are, but there are great lawyers that we have brought in who are amazing. They're on it. We're bringing in more lawyers. Next week, you're going to see a whole stream of new lawyers coming in to help them, but we're on it and we're in the right. And ultimately, these cases are going to get to the Supreme Court and we will prevail. It's not even a close call on this. Trillions of dollars of your tax dollars, our tax dollars are attempting to be distributed by the deep state, and it's going to stop. It's stopped right now. We're not going to let it happen.
Let's go.
You know, Attorney General Bondi, I'm getting the sense.
Guys, we got almost 2,500 people watching. Let's hit 2,000 likes. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Listening to you and some of the other top officials in the Trump administration, you folks really get along. You really like each other. You like the mandate that the president's given you, that the president's giving you a lot of room to operate and so forth and so on. I just get the sense that this administration early on is functioning much better and coordinating much better than your typical administration. Now, you worked in administrations before, not obviously for a president. Is that your sense of this?
Absolutely. And the president and I talk about this a lot. The president talks about this publicly, even from his first administration. You know, I think you're wiser. I was in his last administration for a short time when they tried to impeach him the first time. So I got to see how great it worked then, but now it works even better. I think you're just wiser. You know what's happening. We all work so well together. He has assembled a team of people who are second to none. You know, and our vice president is just off the charts. He is truly remarkable. He was someone who I didn't know before this, and I've just really, I think the world of him and the entire cabinet. And then, Mark, if you take it to a national security level, I always say it's the things that keep all of us up at night that you'll never know about. Hopefully, you'll never know about them, and that's why America's safe.
Yes.
You know, you hear the very public things, the things on the news, but getting to watch firsthand these truly professionals led by Mike Waltz, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Scott Bassett, all of these people together. Steve Witkoff is amazing. The things that are being done for world peace at the direction of Donald Trump, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. I'm so blessed to be a part of it, a teeny tiny part of it, what they're doing.
Well, knowing you and knowing how committed you are and your integrity, I can tell you as a former chief of staff to a great Attorney General, Ed Meese, that I am thrilled that you're there and you're going to do a fantastic job. So God bless you, my friend.
Guys, I love it. We have such a dream team that is helping Trump out so much. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, guys. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind clicking that thumbs up like button, we are here to serve you, everybody. We love you so much. Appreciate your support. Thank you to all of our members that have joined today. Want to give some love to those that are members and have given a super chat donation. Ruby Hoove, Chester X, Miss B, Charlotte Smith, Virginia Lamb, Danu Woa, Deborah Myers, Donna D, T Heavy Guy with gifting the True Life News membership. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. We're so thankful. We are on a new spectrum of the United States. I believe that it is totally possible in the next 2 years to get rid of federal income taxes, to 100% take care of our seniors, at least double what they're getting in Social Security, to get Doge dividend checks, and to create a lasting just legacy for the American people in our generation right now that's going to keep feeding us for the rest of the future in technology, AI, in our border security, in putting America first, that any president who does not come to the table saying America first, they're not going to get in. Love you all so much. Appreciate you all. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.